Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Does Your Innie or Your Outie Bring You to Enlightenment? And for those of you who watch the show Severance, they just ended their second season. And in the show, people have their mind severed. So every day when they arrive at work, they forget their life in the outside world, and they become what's referred to as their innie. And at first glance, you might think, wow, that's kind of interesting that someone would show up at work without all their baggage, without all their stress, and they would be very focused and present for their workday and relieved of their outside pain. And they're probably very productive. And as you watch the show, you see that the Outies do have a lot of pain, a lot of loss, and that's why some of them decide to go through this process and have two different lives, one at work and one on the outside. What was so fascinating about the show is that first you see people who have the stress on the outside, their innies, they seem more gentle, more open, less burdened. But you also see, as the show goes on, that although the innies had a reset and were severed from everything that happened to them before, they eventually started to accumulate new problems with their new personality. And if I bring us all into our current lives, a lot of us believe that if we could just have a reset, if we could begin again, if we could make different choices, life would be better today. And we forget that everything has twists and turns. But most importantly, who are we in those twists and turns? That is what makes our life. How we show up, how present we are to experience it, how open we are. Are we afraid? Are we stressed? Are we playing it safe? Are we grasping for certainty? Or are we present enough to know ourselves, present enough to experience life, open enough to not be afraid of uncertainty, which allows us to make the choices that most align with who we are. So really, when you look at it, the real sever, the real reset, the real beginning again is how we show up in this moment and who we choose to be and how we choose to see life. That is the new beginning. That's the reset. Not changing the past, not predicting the future. Each moment really is a new life, a new adventure, a new possibility. But we're so sure who we are based on what's happened to us that we're judging ourselves, we're valuing ourselves, we're diminishing ourselves. And we forget our greatness in the moment. And we forget the miracle of the moment. We forget the infinite field of possibilities that always exists, but it only exists for those of us who are able to let go and be fully in the moment. And again, anytime you're living in this moment and you believe that the future is bleak, you believe you can't have what you want, you're not going to make the decision that most aligns with you because you don't have the answer you're looking for. But sometimes life is more about the questions than the answers because the answers are projections. Any answer you think you have right now about what's going to be in the future is based on your past experience. And if you don't like the way your life is going, then why would you bring that forward? We are so clear that you cannot know the future. And if you can't know it, life has maybe. Things that you would love, things that you dream of. And I know I've been saying this a lot lately, but sure, there's the maybe not. Sure, there are things you don't like that could happen in the future, but there are also things that you can like. And why not consider them while you're in this moment? So you could open up and you could let go and you can embrace all that's possible for your life. If you're so busy in this moment, knowing things are bad, knowing things are not working out, knowing that the future cannot be better, regretting your past, you are not living in your full potential. And even if somebody gave you a new start, a new ability to begin again, to get rid of your past, to make you forget everything, we don't realize we would do it all again. And maybe with different traumas, maybe with different choices. But our life really comes down to how we show up, how present we are, and how we respond to what's in front of us. And believe me, I get this. Sometimes you're in the moment, and based on everything that's happened to you in your life, based on what society says, based on everything around you, you can't imagine life getting better. You can't imagine change happening. But at the same time, there's something in you that wants something different, that dreams of something different, that feels so pulled towards new life. But that pull is the truth. That's the thing that you're seeking, that's outside in the universe seeking you. That's the dream that aligns with your heart. And sometimes we think we're mad, we think we're crazy. How can we want this when life is not showing us this in the moment? And the reason why you want it, it's because it is your purpose, it's your soul, it's your path. And you're being called towards it. You just can't see it yet. And that's what takes a level of faith. And that's why I always talk about maybe, because some of us just don't have this idea of faith. So we use this tool of maybe to say, what is my greatest fear? My greatest fear is that I cannot achieve the life that I want. I cannot open that business. I cannot fall in love again. I cannot get that job. I cannot show up the way I want to. And then we question that. Are your fears absolute? Could you know for sure how you will be in the future or what will happen? And the beauty of life is your fears are not absolute, which means life has maybe. And maybe you can be different. And maybe life can be different. And maybe there can be new opportunities. And with this idea of maybe, your fears are not the only thing you know. Hope comes back in. And there's enough hope to align with your heart and say, I want my life to be different. I am willing to make a different decision in this moment. I am willing to be present. I'm willing to let go of the past. I'm willing to embrace all that's possible. And in this mindset, I'm going to apply for this new job. In this mindset, I'm going to say yes to that date. In this mindset, I'm going to raise money and start a business. Whatever it might be, because I know somewhere in the universe what I'm seeking is seeking me. And that is how your life changes. You don't need to walk around thinking that you need your past to have not happened. Sure, you need to accept it, you need to process it, but you need to also believe in the newness of the moment. And again, for those of you who watch Severance, this was not an interpretation of the show. It was just one thought about what would happen if we got a new chance at life again. And I think we have a new chance every breath, every moment, every day. And it's an inside job that we become aware of what holds us back. We accept where we are. We understand that everything is the way it's supposed to be because it is. We're not rigid about the future because we know life has maybe. We take some deep breaths to see where we are. We embrace the glory of the moment. We become grateful for what we have, and we reach down into our heart and believe in who we are. We show up and we say, this is what life is giving us today. What do we want to do with it? How do we want to experience it? Doesn't mean we're never going to have sadness. Doesn't mean we're not going to live in a state of joy. It's just, what is life giving me in this moment? And you process it the best you can, but you let the richness of your inner world guide you through the day. And again, very different from the show, but this would mean the Innie is aligned with the Outie, that there doesn't have to be a separation, that we can be the most powerful person that we are by integrating everything into our lives into this moment. So you don't need to regret and redo your life, and you don't need to wish that the future is different than it is because it hasn't happened yet. But you could be so in touch with your inner world that you could show up for the outer world differently. And when you do that, you make different choices and you begin to find those things that have existed within your heart for your entire life. You begin to attract them, you begin to create them, and you begin to understand that maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe, A Year Without Men, Maybe Everything's Okay, A Parent's Guide to Less Stress and Worry, you can find them at all major bookstores and online retailers. If you'd like to buy my Maybe cards or my Maybe journal, they're available on Etsy, Amazon, and my Stand store. And most of all, if you like this podcast, I hope you subscribe and leave a comment.